Hey everyone. Now we know there's going to be a preview this week on Thursday. That's a tentative date, but people have been asking me about my Buccaneer build, and without actually knowing how the target's going to look like, it's very hard to pinpoint and settle down on a build. So I have a few ideas I'm going to share with you, and I'll be testing these ideas during the preview in 2 days. Let's get started here. This is my basic build, okay? So I have a high degree of confidence this will work. Speed System 6, CL3 Special. And if you don't have CL3 Special, the alternative is to use Layered Armour 3, and that's only going to give you ballistic resistance. And use a second special called Reflective Coating Level 3 or 4. That's going to give you both evade and radioactive defense. The downside is that it takes 2 slots instead of CL3 taking 1. The upside is that you get evade. And right now we don't know how important evade's going to be. So I'm going with CL3. And Siege Battery 4. Of course, if you don't have Siege Battery 4, get Siege Battery 3. It's the second best option, and that one has been in the game for a very long time. The ideal cannon is the Peak Accelerator Cannon, or PAC-2. Most of my ships will be loaded with them. If you don't have the PAC, look for cannons with very high building damage. I could go as far back as the Arbalest. You could try the PAC, the one that's been in the game for a couple of years. You could try the Mauser. If you want to take advantage of the splash this hull has, look for a cannon with splash. So that makes the PAC or the Mauser good candidates. But I wouldn't ignore the Millennium Gun, for instance. Very good damage. The other important things in this hull is just with these 3 specials, you already get a very good building damage because the hull has built-in building damage, built-in splash, and built-in ballistic damage, not only here, plus 75%, but for every Buccaneer in the fleet, you get extra 20%. So you can actually get a bonus of extra 100% by having 5 ships in the fleet. Just as you're going to get a lot extra ballistic and radioactive defense, the more hulls you have in the fleet. So ideally, I'm going to have 4 and wait for the flagship, which should be released this raid. It's a very fast hull. I think speed's going to be important to evade pools of fire and things that will do area of effect damage. So slow hulls probably will not work. So okay, starting from here and understanding the hull, it has a very high structure deflection already, 1100, and 20 because of the one C1C armor I've put in here. Right, so ideally, and I still don't have my 4 hulls at that stage, but I'm trying to get the 4 of them to this point. So let's look what comes after that. This is my preferred build right now. So if I don't have time to test or to try anything else, I'm going with this. 3 hulls like you see on the left, all cannons, 2 C1Cs. I'm leaving 2 armor slots open because I really don't know if the target will be more heavy on radioactive damage or heavier on ballistic damage. So it might be we need 2 more C1Cs here, or D1C, try the regular ballistic armor. Or maybe they'll release radioactive charged armor. I don't know. So I'm leaving those 2 blank even during the raid until I know more. My other favorite specials are Nuclear Accelerator 2. That one gives me speed, so that's a high speed build. Okay, it also gives me the extra range I need. Then I'm going with HVR, high velocity rounds. This one gives me 3 good things. It gives extra building damage, extra projectile speed, and regular ballistic damage, which compounds with the building damage. So if you look at the total damage, this build has, I believe, the highest damage in a single round that I could assemble. So assuming we could kill a turret with a single round, this is the build. You get to the target quicker, you get a very good splash, okay, and maybe you can kill the whole thing in one hit. Now, there's an expectation, we'll confirm that on Thursday, that there will be radioactive missiles firing from some turrets. In that case, they can be countered by flanks, and I'm gonna have a hole with 2 or 3 flanks for, and that one hole, instead of having autoloader 2, because that's as heavy as I can go, I cannot put autoloader 3. This one will have countermeasure loader, which also gives me some reload, but also gives me a buff on the countermeasures. If the missiles are really fast, having the extra projectile speed from HVR will also help, and that's another reason for having this guy in here. So that's one setup. Right now it's my favorite setup. It's the first I'm going to try on the preview. Here's a different setup, okay? And this one has faster reload and much higher building damage. So that's very high building damage. Doesn't have the extra projectile speed, okay? Damage in a single hit goes down a little bit, but the DPS against buildings goes up. So just 2 specials different from the previous build, okay? A third option is what's called the PAC-MAN version, because it has the PAC cannon, PAC-2 cannon, and the mass augmentation nexus, MAN. So that's the PAC-MAN. That's the new special kicks I released. If you look, that has lower damage, but it has a very higher chance of critical hits, which may or may not be important. We don't know how that's going to play. Okay, this building, because you cannot use nuclear accelerator 2 with the man, it goes down to Cannon System 4. Cannon System 4 gives you the best splash of the 3 builds I showed so far. So maybe that's good if the turrets are clustered like 3-4 of them together. Maybe that's actually helpful. You get high building damage, you get very high splash, and you get critical shots. So maybe that's what you need to kill clusters at once, okay, despite having the lower combat speed. Okay, and if you look, going back here, I'm going to go back, building time wise, this is also the shortest build time of the 3 options. There are other things I want to test. For instance, I don't know if we need agility system. I don't know if there's going to be anything that can be countered by higher evade, or anything that's going to stun or slow the ship. I need the anti-stun, the stun resistance. The other option is adding 200 more structure deflection with STR6. I'll test that as well. I already have a build with autoloader 2. Brian had an idea of removing a cannon and adding autoloader 3. And actually, based on his calculations, which we discussed and they are accurate, that actually gives higher DPS, even being 1 cannon short. Another option is Siege Reloader 2. A bit more reload, a bit more building damage, and that could be instead of siege targeting. And the other angle is increasing splash. So I know TSM is using the high yield warheads to get extra building damage, extra projectile speed, and extra splash. It's a very heavy special, but it's good. It's an option. I mean, right now we don't know until we see the targets. So these are the buildings overall I'm looking at. Final things to think about. We don't know the flagship bonuses. So without actually knowing, is the flagship going to give more splash to all ships? Is it going to give them more speed, more resistance? We don't know, right? So that's going to inform our decision. And that is only going to be known during the raid. So we're going to have to make choices without knowing that. Is there going to be a radioactive charged armor? I don't know. Okay, so that also changes, and that's why I'm leaving 2 armor slots blank. At most, I'm going to put D2R, the lightweight radioactive armor. And remember, do not use radioactive plates, because that radioactive deflection does not work on these hulls. That only works on Conquerors and Defenders. And we also don't know, and that's third piece of information there. We're going to know about that in 2 days. Are they dealing more ballistic or more radioactive damage? Stay tuned. TSM will be streaming the preview Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I will be recording my tests and editing and publishing a video with my final tested build at that point in time. For now, I'm going to go back here and leave you with my preferred build right now. Okay, but feel free. I think any one of these 3 versions will actually work with small variations in performance, but none of them are wrong. Okay? Stay frosty, pirates. See you next time. Take care.